I'd asked my brother if I could have the bracelet and told him what it was for. I don't recall him hesitating for 1 second in giving it to me.
Alexa,
He seemed to like...
Pause. Right, good morning, everybody. There is no sign of a courier coming with my bank card at the moment. So it's cold in here. This is no joke. Barclays Bank have put a stop on my card and they said a courier is coming out today with my card. I have money in the bank. I can't access it. It is freezing cold in here. I'm trying to save electricity. If I have to stay in this flat all day waiting for a card with low electricity, that's what I'm going to have to do. We've had a taxi pull up outside my flat, a white taxi, like a London cab but white. So we've had a taxi drive outside my window taunting me. We just stayed under my window for a second and he drove off. So I've got in touch with a relative, not my mother, not my mum. And if my card doesn't come today, they're going to come down and help me. Now, this shouldn't have to happen. It shouldn't have to happen. I'm an adult woman. There's money in my bank account. I just can't get hold of it. Absolutely ridiculous. If it's not brought by courier, I'm going to the newspapers and the police. I'm not joking. This ain't a joke. Alexa, continue.
Despite his off-cited concerns, Kate seemed to like her too. We had them over for dinner during one of Meg's visits, and Meg cooked, and everything was good. Willie had a cold. He was sneezing and coughing, and Meg ran upstairs to get him some of her homeopathic cure-alls. Oregano, or as the Americans say, oregano, oil, and turmeric. He seemed charmed, moved, though Kate announced to the table that he'd never take such unconventional remedies. We talked about Wimbledon that night, and suits, and Willie and Kate weren't brave enough to admit to being superfans, which was sweet. The only possibly discordant note I could think of was the marked difference in how the two women dressed, which both of them seemed to notice. Meg, ripped jeans, barefoot. Kate, done up to the nines. No big deal, I thought. Along with the diamonds from the bracelet, I'd asked the designer to add a third, a blood-free diamond from Botswana. He asked if there was a rush. Well, now that you mention it. Chapter 35. Meg backed up her house, gave up her role in Suits. After 7 seasons. A difficult moment for her, because she loved that show, loved the character she was playing, loved her cast and crew, loved Canada. On the other hand, life there had become untenable, especially on set. The show writers were frustrated, because they were often advised by the Palace comms team to change lines of dialogue, what her character would do, how she would act. She'd also shut down her website and abandoned all social media, again at the behest of the Palace comms team. She'd said goodbye to her friends, goodbye to her car, goodbye to one of her dogs, Bogart. He'd been so traumatized by the siege of her house, by the constant ringing of the doorbell, that his demeanor changed when Meg was around. He'd become an aggressive guard dog. Meg's neighbors had graciously agreed to adopt him. But Guy came. Not my friend, Meg's other dog, her beat-up little beagle, who was even more beat up of late. He missed Bogart, of course, but more, he was badly injured. Days before Meg left Canada, Guy had run away from his minder. Meg was at work. He'd been found miles from Meg's house, unable to walk. His legs were now in casts. I often had to hold him upright so he could pee. I didn't mind in the least. I loved that dog. I couldn't stop kissing him, petting him. Yes, my intense feelings for Meg spilled over onto anyone or anything she loved, but also I'd wanted a dog for so long, and I'd never been able to have one because I'd been such a nomad. One night, not long after Meg's arrival in Britain, we were at home, making dinner, playing with Guy, and the kitchen of Knockout was as full of love as any room I'd ever been in. I opened a bottle of champagne, an old gift I'd been saving for a special occasion.
Right, guys, people think this is a joke. They think I'm
Okay.
joking. I'm going to take
Speak
you
up, guy.
in a
Carry them
moment
outside.
out to my electricity meter box. The emergency credit is on. It's on, well, it was on £3. It's probably on about £2.50 now. Barclays Bank want me to stay in all day for a bank card that might not come. I could go out and put electricity on my meter, but I can't because I'm stuck indoors. This ain't a joke.